Share, members, and guests. When I was young, I actually was young, I used to play the odd video game. I don't know if you remember, the ones who are old enough, Doom and Wolfenstein. Remember that one? Well, okay, Doom was killing monsters, Wolfenstein was killing German soldiers and their Alsatian dogs. And that got a lot of publicity because you're not supposed to shoot dogs. It's all right killing the people, not the dogs. So I didn't think anything about how I felt when I was playing the games. What I knew was that I was really pleased when I got to the next level, you know, sort of blasting away and I sort of clunk, you're into the next level. And so you then got to work your way through that level. Killing and killing and killing, but, you know, no sort of joy to it. Just, I've got to get to the next level. Die, you bastard, die! Waste of space, something. You can't kill them. You need at least 3 guns or bombs or something to kill them. So what happened? Well, you know, let's move on to the real world. Back in 2000 BC, the Chinese were brilliant people. You know, they invented lots of things. They invented a board game. It was a war game. And it was for strategy and tactics. And so they would get their commanders and get them to sit around and play one of these games. And they could work out how they were going to fight this battle. And it worked sometimes. Sometimes you'd win. But in the game, you're killing a lot of people. You know, whole regiments get wiped out because you cocked up. You know, you should not have moved that lot over there because the cavalry's coming in from there. And they just took them all out. So lots of people died. The commanders weren't exactly overjoyed. They just, it was part of working as a soldier, you know, sort of commander of a troop, commander of a whole army. You did that. You didn't worry about killing people. 1870, Kriegspell came out. That was a war game produced by a Prussian first lieutenant in the army. Now, he came up with a much, much better scheme. His was to use a real map with the topography all marked out, so you knew where the hills were, you knew where the valleys were, you knew where the rivers were. He had the soldiers in separate groups so that you'd have a sort of platoon of riflemen, you'd have cavalry, you'd have everybody ready to use, and then you mark and push them out to where you wanted. But he said, no, you know, that is not going to work. What you need is an umpire, a man in charge, who does all of the movements. Now, he's not going to move somebody if they can be seen by the enemy. So what they used to have to do was write down their instructions and hand them to the umpire, which is a bit like in the real life situation. A guy on a horse rides up to the general, he gives him instructions, and he drives back and hands instructions out. Well, that's what they do. 1878, I think it was, the Prussians had a war with France, the Franco-Prussian War. Who won? The Prussians, of course. They've been using this war game. This war game was used by all of the Prussians. And they beat the French. They had very similar weapons, very similar numbers, but the French didn't stand a chance because they'd done all the tactics, they'd worked out all the places that they didn't want to go, the ones they should go, and so they won. Now you bring it up to modern days, Swindon, I don't know if you've all heard of the Swindon Military University, they have produced a massive tome on war games. Brilliant, absolutely. I gave that up for about 5 or 6 pages because it was just so complex. But they're using it, but with computers. You know, theirs is much better. But what effect does simulated killing have on people? I saw real killing in Liberia. Soldiers with joy on their face as they sprayed bullets into the civilians. You know, absolute joy. And you're thinking, they're killing people. Why are you so happy? Didn't have a chance to ask them, of course, but we've got the same thing here. We're back into really serious video games. I mean, my stuff was really primitive. Now you've got high graphics. You've got people with arms being blown off, heads being blown off, blood spraying everywhere. And kids are doing this every day in their bedrooms. Now, one of the things that they said in research was that children, they can do these sort of games, but if you reward them for violence, then there's a risk. Because if there's violence in the house, the family, and they've got violence being rewarded, that tends to lead them on to violence in the family. So it is a bit worrying with these computer games that are so violent. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is probably one of the worst, because it has situations where you can kill prostitutes, you can kill anybody you want, you're allowed to wipe out complete areas of people if you want to. But you make the decisions. But again, it's killing. I went on to a game recently, Laser Combat. You've heard of Laser Combat? No? Okay, well, you've heard of paintball. Yeah, paintball. Paintball is an interesting one. You run around with a gun that has air pressure in it, and you fire balls of paint. And when they hit, you get splattered with paint, and everybody knows you're dead. But it hurts. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it hurts. And so the laser version is probably a little bit nicer, because it doesn't hurt. But with paintball, because it hurts, you have a reaction to killing people. So if you're killing somebody and somebody kills you, it hurts. And so you've got this relationship between the fact that that hurts. Laser, there is no possibility of being hurt. Laser guns are really weird. They are not laser guns. They're actually LEDs, light emitting diodes. They have a coding put into the system, a complete code which tells them who the gun was, who they were shooting at, how many people they killed, how many times you've been killed, how many bullets you've got left. And so I went to this laser thing with Carol's grandchildren, 2 7-year-olds, 1 10-year-old. And it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. You ended up in a situation that none of the kids seemed to have any qualms about rushing around and blasting somebody. Even worse, they get someone trapped and they splatter them. And they're happy. But the thing that the scientists said was, lasers, not so bad, you've got face to face. Because you've got face to face, it's a little bit easier because the kids are interacting in between the games, they'll be talking to each other. But they still have the joy of killing. Because the kids, with their lasers, are blasting away and they really enjoy shooting people like me. They enjoyed killing me. I think I got killed 5 times. So they enjoyed it. So in respect, I would say that there is a certain amount of joy in killing, but we need to control it, because the Germans have already said once we're banning it because of the risk to children. They had to rescind it, so it's not banned at the moment. But there are a lot of people looking at whether we should ban children from killing each other, even though it's a simulation.